She declared during supper, "I'm engaged to your closest buddy. We've been secretly dating for several months." The entire gathering fell into stunned silence, every gaze fixed on me, anticipating an outburst. I remained mute. Instead, I discreetly unlocked my phone beneath the table, accessed a solitary image, and wirelessly shared it to him. My partner's name was Amelia, and my lifelong friend's name was Liam. For the past 4 years, I believe my existence was perfectly arranged. I possessed a stable career, a stunning woman I adored, and a companion I'd known since childhood. In reality, I held on to none of those. What I truly had was a volatile situation on the brink of detonation. And over the preceding 6 weeks, I'd methodically diffused it, ensuring that when it ultimately erupted, I'd emerge as the sole survivor unscathed. The initial fracture in the foundation surfaced roughly 2 months prior. Amelia began transforming. The Amelia I knew was a lively, grounded individual content with a pizza and a film evening. This altered version was fixated on prestige. All of a sudden, she insisted on attending elite art exhibitions, the hottest new eateries, and select philanthropic gatherings. Our weekends, formerly dedicated to just the two of us, became overrun with a social itinerary I played no role in devising. When I inquired, she'd merely dismiss it with a wave. "It's for my professional advancement, Ethan. It's about building connections. You wouldn't grasp it." Subsequently, the presents arrived. A luxury purse she asserted was acquired at a significant markdown. A pair of footwear exceeding my monthly vehicle installment, which she described as a token from a client. Her explanations always seemed credible, sufficiently so to make me feel guilty for doubting them. Liam, my dearest friend, served as her staunchest supporter. He'd visit our residence for a match, and he'd rave about her aspirations. She's destined for greatness, buddy," he'd proclaim, patting my shoulder. "You're fortunate to have a partner with such determination." I now recognize he wasn't merely encouraging her. He was evaluating the rival, the genuine warning signal activated 6 weeks earlier. It wasn't a singular incident, but an accumulation of subtle, intentional shifts. She commenced safeguarding her mobile device as if it harbored national secrets, tilting the display away and accepting calls elsewhere. Then her computer inexplicably developed severe malfunctions just ahead of a major work assignment. She requested permission to utilize our communal home workspace machine for a couple of weeks. As a software developer, I was proficient with computers. I assured her I'd establish a new user account to prevent any interference with my documents. That provided the entry point I required. Prior to setting up her profile, I embedded a covert keystroke recorder and remote surveillance program. It felt like a profound breach of confidence, yet my instincts insisted the trust had already evaporated. I was merely seeking verification. Confirmation arrived swiftly. The evening she first employed the device, I observed everything from my personal laptop in the adjacent space. I witnessed her accessing a clandestine email address. I viewed the exchanges between her and Liam. They transcended mere flirtation. They were orchestrating a future together. They were ridiculing me, my employment, my perceived lack of drive. They discussed the ideal timing to inform me, strategizing a method that would leave me too shocked to respond. Then I encountered the additional correspondences, those directed to a gentleman named Julian Croft. A brief online investigation unveiled his identity, a property tycoon in his late 50s, wedded and exceedingly affluent. The communications with him differed, a strategic blend of compliments and assurances. She was engaged in a far grander, riskier scheme than I'd ever envisioned. Liam wasn't the ultimate objective. He represented merely the socially palatable enhancement from me until she could secure the genuine prize. The treachery struck like a physical assault. My most trusted ally, the woman I cohabited with, but the fury soon yielded to a frigid, analytical resolve. They presumed themselves cunning. They regarded me as a naive individual oblivious to their scheme. I resolved then that I wouldn't merely confront them, I'd permit them to construct their illusory realm, only to be the one who incinerates it entirely. This wouldn't devolve into a chaotic separation. It would be a meticulously orchestrated implosion. I persisted in tracking her actions, amassing my arsenal. I uncovered reservations for accommodations on purported business excursions her employer never endorsed, all financed by Julian. I discovered online purchase confirmations for the client gifts. The concluding element of the enigma materialized a week back. She informed me of another obligatory work journey, this time to a technological summit in a proximate urban area. My monitoring application revealed a contrasting narrative. It displayed a booking at an upscale boutique lodging under Julian's designation. It also exhibited a travel itinerary for her, not toward the summit locale, but to a secluded airstrip adjacent to Julian's seaside property. This presented my opportunity. I knew from his social platforms that Julian was an avid sailor. I was also aware he favored a specific eatery in the port town near his residence. I requested 2 days off from employment, informing Amelia I was visiting my ailing relative. I traveled the 4-hour distance to that municipality. I lingered at a cafe opposite that dining establishment for 7 hours, patiently observing, and eventually I spotted them. Julian and Amelia exiting the restaurant, chuckling. He encircled her with his arm, and she gazed upward at him with the identical fabricated affection she once bestowed upon me. He sported a strikingly unique bespoke timepiece, a feature I had memorized from his digital profiles. I retrieved my phone, magnified the view, and captured a flawless, crisp photograph. Amelia, Julian, and his unmistakable, exorbitant accessory, all captured in a single shot. I possessed my instrument of retribution. I anticipated the conclusion was imminent. Amelia and Liam grew increasingly audacious, more negligent. The culminating event initiated when Liam contacted me on Monday. He desired a celebratory meal on Friday. He mentioned possessing significant updates to disclose. He proposed an upscale eatery among their recently favored spots. He urged me to include Amelia naturally. It all seemed transparently obvious. This marked the moment. This constituted the evening they intended to unveil their momentous revelation. I comprehended their rationale entirely. They sought not merely to terminate our relationship. They aimed to demean me. They perceived me as a passive, uncomplicated fellow incapable of causing a disturbance. By proclaiming their betrothal before our acquaintances, they could dictate the storyline, portraying me as the abandoned one, the individual unable to match pace. It embodied a maneuver for dominance, and I was content to allow them the illusion of authority. I dedicated the ensuing 4 days to preparations. I established a fresh banking account and relocated all my savings from our shared account, retaining merely a modest sum. I consulted an attorney and commissioned a formal eviction directive, given Amelia's absence from the property title of my dwelling. I assembled all her possessions, every article of footwear and handbag, into cartons and arranged for a relocation service to store them in a warehouse. I covered the initial month's rental. By Friday dawn, every remnant of her had vanished from my abode. The sole remnant was the individual image on my phone. That evening at the restaurant, the ambiance brimmed with unspoken tension only I comprehended. Amelia and Liam radiated joy, exchanging covert grins and discreet physical contacts beneath the table. They imagined themselves as the sovereigns of this domain, clutching every advantage. They selected the priciest champagne bottle. Ultimately following the primary dish, Amelia arose. She clinked her glass with a utensil, a self-satisfied, luminous grin adorning her features. "Greetings, everyone," she commenced, her voice laden with artificial sentiment. "I simply wish to express gratitude for your presence. This past year has signified immense personal development for me, necessitating arduous choices to pursue my passions and attain authentic bliss." She glanced my way, a glimmer of condescension in her gaze. It formed part of the act. "Occasionally," she proceeded, "one acknowledges that the existence one leads isn't the one predestined, and I am profoundly elated to announce that I have located the individual with whom I am meant to share it. She pivoted toward Liam, her eyes aglow. Liam and I have been romantically involved for the recent months, and this evening I am ecstatic to proclaim our engagement. The remaining companions at the table, evidently privy to the surprise, burst into ovation. They all directed their attention toward me, expressions blending sympathy and voyeuristic intrigue, awaiting my collapse. I refrained. I merely smiled. I regarded Liam, my former closest companion, the man who had usurped my existence, and offered him a deliberate, cognizant inclination of the head. Thereafter, I lowered my gaze to my phone. I chose the photograph captured a week prior, depicting Amelia and Julian with his gleaming, bespoke timepiece in the daylight. I selected Liam's contact and initiated the wireless transmission. Shortly, Liam's device signaled. He peered at it, a trace of irritation crossing his visage. Then his eyes expanded. He froze entirely. The hue departed his complexion, rendering him pallid. He shifted his gaze from the device to Amelia, then to me. In my stare, he discerned not wrath, but an icy, irrevocable conclusion. He finally grasped. He wasn't the victor. He served merely as another piece in her stratagem. He rose, his seat grating noisily against the surface. The eatery fell hushed. When was this image captured? He interrogated Amelia, his tone ominously subdued. She faltered, attempting to view his phone. Which photograph, darling? What's the issue? This one, he bellowed, thrusting the device toward her face. With Julian Croft? This was photographed last Saturday. You informed me you were tending to your ill aunt in the rural region. You utilized my credit card for the lodging reservation. The pallor overtook Amelia's features. She found herself ensnared. No falsehood sufficed to extricate her. The other acquaintances at the table merely gaped, jaws ajar. We're finished, Liam declared, his voice trembling with indignation. He extracted the freshly acquired engagement band from his pocket and hurled it to the floor. You represent the most manipulative, deceptive individual I've encountered. You deceived both of us. He glanced at me, a hint of remorse in his eyes. He was aware, he addressed the group. He knew the entirety of this duration. He scattered several $100 notes on the table to settle his portion of the bill. Then he pivoted and departed the restaurant without a backward glance. Amelia remained seated, wholly and irrevocably exposed. Her flawless proclamation, her triumphant conquest, had morphed into a public dismantling. I composed myself, retrieved my wallet, settled my portion of the bill, and arose. Well, I remarked to the astonished hush of the table, this evening has proven exceedingly dramatic. Thereafter I exited, abandoning her amidst the devastation. I returned to my serene, orderly residence. I obstructed her contact, Liam's contact, and the contacts of all acquaintances complicit in the scheme. The tranquility proved exquisite. An hour elapsed before the insistent knocking commenced. It was her. I observed her via my doorbell monitor, her visage a disarray of tears and fury. Ethan, unlock this entrance. We must converse. I merely monitored the transmission. A peculiar detachment enveloped me. Following several minutes of her vociferating my name, I addressed her through the intercom. There exists nothing to discuss. Amelia, our association has concluded. Her demeanor shifted abruptly, the ire dissipated, supplanted by a frantic, imploring weep. No, sweetheart, no, I cherished you. It was perpetually you. Liam constituted an error, Julian signified naught. Permit my entry, I possess no alternative destination. That ceases to be my concern henceforth, I stated. Your possessions reside in a warehouse facility. The access key and location details have been dispatched to your familial residence via express delivery. They ought to arrive by tomorrow morning. She merely fixed her gaze upon the camera, her lips parting and closing. The notion that I had anticipated her every maneuver eluded her cognitive grasp. She recommenced shrieking, an unrefined, primal utterance of sheer exasperation. She vociferated her loathing for me, her absence of affection, my ruination of her existence. I deactivated the intercom and proceeded to my kitchen to prepare a beverage. I harbored one final maneuver. I located Julian Croft's spouse on social networks. Her account was openly accessible. I transmitted a missive from a freshly established anonymous profile. It featured the identical image dispatched to Liam, accompanied by a succinct caption, "Your spouse last Saturday believed you should be informed." The subsequent morning, I received a call from an unidentified number. It originated from Amelia's father. His inflection lacked animosity. It conveyed resignation. He indicated the courier had recently delivered the warehouse access item. He recounted Amelia's nocturnal arrival at their domicile, in hysterics, narrating a distorted rendition of events wherein I portrayed the antagonist. He mentioned that, upon receipt of the key, they discerned my account aligned more closely with veracity. He conveyed they had issued her an ultimatum: secure genuine employment and commence therapeutic sessions, or face independence. The parental financial support had terminated. This constituted the inaugural domino. The subsequent one toppled 2 days later. Julian Croft's spouse, a lady named Eleanor, was not inclined toward passive acceptance. She refrained from responding to my anonymous communication. Conversely, I received an electronic missive to my professional address from her personal aide, soliciting a concise, confidential conversation. I consented. Eleanor exhibited politeness, frigidity, and efficacy. She had evidently conducted thorough research on me. She expressed appreciation for the intelligence and inquired regarding additional details. I forwarded her a curated assortment of the keystroke recorded evidence, lodging confirmations under Julian's designation, digital captures of Amelia's extravagant purchases funded by him. I requested no compensation. Assisting her sufficed as gratification. The repercussions proved magnificent. Within a week, announcements of the Crofts' imminent, highly publicized dissolution emerged. Eleanor, equipped with my documentation, divested him entirely, yet she pursued beyond mere finances. As a principal stakeholder in a competing enterprise, she leveraged the controversy to execute a hostile acquisition of a division within Julian's firm, a venture he had pursued for years. She not only divorced him, but professionally incapacitated him. Julian, ensnared in judicial and fiscal turmoil, ceased all communication with Amelia. Her lucrative opportunity had evaporated. Concurrently, Amelia initiated a defamation effort against me. It manifested as feeble and pitiful. She disseminated to our former companions that I embodied a domineering tyrant who fabricated a manipulated image to fracture her bond with Liam, owing to my inability to endure her contentment. It might have succeeded had Liam not embarked on his own scorched earth offensive. He reached out approximately a week post-dinner. He sounded devastated. He refrained from apologizing for the liaison. He wasn't that caliber of individual, but he did express regret for underestimating me. He disclosed having entered our prior collective conversation and expounded the complete veracity. The months of deception, the scheming, Amelia's additional entanglement with Julian. He executed this to preserve his own standing, not to aid me, yet the outcome mirrored. He concluded the dialogue stating, "She's a sociopath, buddy. You're fortunate to have escaped her." He relocated to another state a month thereafter. Amelia had now become utterly untouchable. She lacked a romantic partner, no betrothed, no prosperous patron. Her guardians maintained distance, and her acquaintances had aligned with me or Liam. She existed as a societal outcast. Subsequently, the ultimate pitiful stage commenced. Roughly a month following the dinner, I obtained a formally composed epistle via postal service. It originated from an attorney. Amelia demanded monetary sustenance. She asserted our 4-year union qualified as a common law matrimony and entitled her to half my holdings, encompassing a share of my dwelling's worth. She additionally pursued litigation for psychological anguish inflicted by my overt debasement of her. I merely chuckled and relayed it to the legal counsel I had previously engaged. My attorney's rebuttal was masterful. It spanned a single page. It affirmed our jurisdiction's non-recognition of common law unions. It incorporated a duplicate of the property title denoting sole ownership acquired prior to our acquaintance. It featured the formal eviction directive. And then, the concluding segment, my preferred portion, it stipulated that should she advance with her baseless legal action, my legal representatives would compel subpoenas for testimonies concerning her infidelity, encompassing one Mr. Liam Lassiter and one Mr. Julian Croft. It remarked that Mr. Croft's exceedingly public and acrimonious divorce proceedings might render him reluctant, yet his deposition on their fiscal agreements would prove pertinent. We received no further communication from her legal representative. 6 months have transpired. The quietude is absolute. I learned via indirect channels that her parents eventually relented and permitted her residence in their cellar. She occupies a menial administrative position, perpetually lamenting the inequity of her circumstances. Julian Croft has dwindled to a mere spectre of his prior incarnation, while his ex-spouse Eleanor's enterprise flourishes. Liam has departed. The acquaintances who supported them have vanished. My existence is tranquil. I have regained my domicile, my fiscal stability, and my mental serenity. They endeavored to engage in a contest, presuming themselves the sole cognizant of the guidelines. They failed to perceive I had already revised the programming and positioned the pieces. I barred Amelia across all mediums, altered my contact number the following day, and savored the stillness. I emerged victorious, not through shouting or combat, but via strategic contemplation.